Welcome back. Let's look at the Middle East in depth. As opposed delegations from Syria held a meeting this weekend in the presence of UN and Arab envoy Lakhdar al-Brahimi, let's see what was happening in the meantime. Andrew Parasiliti, editor and CEO of Washington-based Al-Monitor, interviews Syrian Foreign Minister and his Qatari counterpart. Let's look at highlights from their views on various aspects of the Syrian crisis. Parasiliti published his interview with Qatar's Foreign Minister Khalid bin Mohammed Al Attiyah, who started by looking at the situation in Syria, saying it is in dire need for a pause. In this special interview, Attiyah said, "I wish the Syrian regime would take a pause and think about the people in Syria. The devastating situation of the Syrian people is unprecedented. I hope that they take this chance. This is a window of opportunity for the regime. Assad should grab it and continue this negotiation with the opposition." And when asked about the rise of terrorism and the importance of addressing the matter in Geneva, Attiyah answered, "I believe in the United Nations when they said it is not the terrorists or the terrorism that we are going to accuse. We are going to accuse the cause of the reason of terrorism." Parasiliti then asked Attiyah about his analysis of the state of the opposition. "We need everyone to stand behind them," Attiyah answered. "Everyone should support them. Support Ahmed al-Jarba, support his temporary government. We have to support them today, full stop. Whatever internal politics happens to the coalition, it is up to them. Some of them lost faith in the international community." Attiyah ended the interview by expressing his optimism and took the opportunity to criticize Mr. Muallim, saying he couldn't shorten his speech, hinting that he cannot change anything without President Assad's approval. And now let's see what Andrew Parasiliti can tell us about his special interview with Syrian Foreign Minister Walid al-Muallim, who made it clear to UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon that addressing terrorism is the priority. Muallim earlier said that an agreement reached in Geneva would need to be put to a referendum in Syria. Muallim denied allegations reported by CNN that the Syrian government has been involved in systematic torture of prisoners, and other media outlets based on the contents of a new report calling the accusations a big lie. He said Turkey's role in supporting terrorism is very clear, asking how else foreign fighters could have gained entry into northern Syria. And with regards to the US Secretary of State John Kerry's statements that President Assad should not be taking any part in a transitional government, Al-Muallim boldly stated, "We are in the 21st century. This means we are not in an age of colonization. We are not in the age of hegemony. No country in the world can impose its will on other countries. Who will be the president or how will the government be accorded according to its own interests? This era is finished." In a response to allegations that the government has tortured civilians, Muallim said, "Qatar paid 3 lawyers in Britain to fabricate the whole story. The date is the opening of the conference. If they had these documents, why did they not show them before opening this conference? Why during the meeting of the conference?" And finally, Muallim commented on the numbers of prisoners following accusations that they've been tortured, and he said, "If we have 11,000 prisoners in Syria, I assure you the crisis is ended. This number is very much exaggerated. They are coming voluntarily to speak in front of Syria TV to say who financed them, so we need not torture them." And we are joined today by political analyst Nidal Naisi, based in Damascus, a writer and political analyst. What do you think of US Secretary of State John Kerry's saying that President Bashar al-Assad shall not be in any transitional government?
Well, let's confess that this is not found originally in Geneva 2, in Geneva 1 basic document, but I think it's a kind of the American interpretation of this item in the document, which spoke about a transitional government with full authorities, but it didn't refer directly to the departure of President Bashar al-Assad. This is, I think, a kind of the wishful thinking of the American and Syrian friends, of course, between two commas, about the future of Syria. They just don't want President Assad in power. And I don't think that this is the Russian interpretation, which is, I think, more important than the American interpretation, because the Russians are the ones who stand behind Geneva conference. I think that American now, with their friends, are trying to interpret Geneva document, Geneva 1 document, according to their own interpretation, not according to the Russian-American agreement.
Right, of course. And can I ask you as well, what do you think of the way Syrian Foreign Minister Walid al-Muallim challenged Mr. Kerry about this? Mr. Muallim was very, very brave, and he really challenged him, and he continued his speech. And so what do you think about this position of Mr. Walid al-Muallim?
Well, in fact, as you all have watched, that I think that Mr. al-Muallim was very self-confident in his speech, which reflects, in fact, a state of, reflects, in fact, the state on the ground, the military state on the ground, as well as he was very, very aware of the cause he is defending. He was very skillful in conveying what is happening really in Syria. The terrorism which is striking Syria was well expressed by Minister al-Muallim. I think that you have all watched Mr. Kerry's astonishment, amazement, and perplexity while he is hearing what was Mr. al-Muallim speaking. It was very clear on his face, on Kerry's face.
Mm-hmm. And one more question. Do you agree with Qatar's Foreign Minister Khalid al-Atiyah saying that the regime in Syria has caused terrorism in the way it dealt with the opposition?
Well, in fact, this is, as we always say, this is Syria's friends' propaganda and speech. Syria's friends, of course, friends between two commas. This is the chorus and the symphony and orchestra we have been listening for the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. I think that it is very, very clear that everyone knows now the size of Qatari involvement in Syria zone. We will be very thankful, in fact, and grateful if the Qatari minister have told us why the U.S. fired the ex-emir Hamad and his prime minister. Why America intervened to expel them from power? Why? We would be very happy if the Mr. Minister told us the cause of that. And what has that to do with the Syrian war? Why they were fired? The minister would be very, very good and nice man if he told us the cause. The war in Syria, as the whole so-called Arab Spring, is prefabricated, as we all knew later. And this was subject of, or a main topic of Mr. Bernard or Monsieur Bernard Henry Levy in his book, The Wars Which We Don't Like. Logar, I think, key name that in French we don't know.
Yes.
We don't like. Wars we should.
Yes.
I want to tell you very, very important thing, that the tunnels and the piling up of weapons, the tunnels which were back a long time before the crisis, and the piling of weapons reflects the preparation for this war. There were many places and hideouts for weapons which were discovered before the crisis and before the war began.
Yes. And my last question, Mr. Naisi, do you believe the priority should be ensuring humanitarian aid into Syria or to control terrorism in general?
Well, in fact, the humanitarian side of the war is very important. But I think the so-called revolution has many things to do to show the good intentions regarding this. It's using as a human, the revolution now is using many people, which they say they are the immigrants or those are the refugees. They are human shields. They're using them. They are civilians used by the revolution as a human shield.
Mm-hmm.
And the revolution or those who stand behind it claim that the regime is detaining them.
Right.
We must know that there are many people kidnapped by the so-called revolution. Too many people are kidnapped and
Yes.
hidden in places there. The responsibility is not the regime. We should know this very well. It's a double responsibility. Humanitarian issue
Yes.
can't be tackled without the help and cooperation of all sides. It would be great error to consider it's the responsibility of only one side.
Mm-hmm.
It's very useful to remind our esteemed listeners that, or viewers, that there are tens of thousands of mercenaries.
Right. Which
the whole
areas,
world.
Mr. Naisi, they are using the civilians as human shields? In what areas particularly? Do you have any examples?
Please raise your voice.
Yeah. Do you know in which areas exactly these people are used as human shields? Is it in Homs? Is it in Dar'a? Is it in Damascus?
Yes, in Adra labor city, there are about 100 people detained by mercenaries, by Al-Qaeda mercenaries. This was the main declaration today by Mr. Amran Al-Zabi, the information minister.
Okay.
There are many people detained also in Nibbol and Al-Zahra in the north of Aleppo. Many cities and small towns are besieged by mercenaries, not Syrian, foreigners.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Nidal Naisi, for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
That was political analyst and writer Nidal Naisi live from the Syrian capital, Damascus. And for more updates, please visit us on levant.tv. Thanks for watching us today. Bye for now.